You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back! Yay!
She's being overly cheerful because it's a whiskey episode.
Yep. If you couldn't
Not an
tell.
episode about whiskey, but an episode that requires whiskey.
Yep. If you couldn't tell by the superfluous amounts of popping and fizzing and
Can opening.
Yeah. I meant to pull down the emotional support bunny for you, which you're still welcome to have if you'd like. Or the emotional support Steven behind you. Which, if anyone's new, Steven is our taxidermied squirrel. Mm-hmm. Killed by my grandfather, like, many years, like 50 years ago. Like, I inherited him, guys. It's not...
You're looking good for 50, Steven.
I know. He's huge, too.
Yeah.
He's got to be, I don't know. Anyways. Okay. Well, some announcements, quick announcements. The first one is, well, I'll go ahead and do our holiday schedule since we just talked about it. Holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving is next week.
No, when this airs, Thanksgiving is in 2 days.
Thanksgiving is tomorrow when this airs, right?
Oh, yeah, no. If you're a Patreon, if you're a patron, it's in 2 days.
Yes.
If this airs, it's tomorrow.
Yeah. So happy Thanksgiving. I got very excited. I do every week at work. I put out the following week's schedule of events, and we're closed for 2 days.
Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. And the only things on the schedule for like the 3 days before that are like in one room. They're not in like any of the other rooms. I'm like, this is the shortest thing I've ever done. This is easy. There's no setup required. It's very nice. Okay, so our holiday schedule is very simple. Our last episode before Christmas will be on the 21st, and then we are going to take the next week off to spend time with our families. And we hope everyone else also spends time with their families or loved ones or friends.
Whoever you want.
Whoever you got. And then we'll be back in the new year, which we hope will be great.
It's going to be different.
It's going to be a year. You're going to have baby turn in. Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. I just realized when Critter's birthday was, and never mind. We're not going to talk about it. I just realized when Tolly's birthday is, and we're not going to talk about it.
It's not that soon. There's still lots of time, and lots of milestones, and all sorts of stuff. Stop trying to make my boy grow up faster.
Stop it. Whew. Okay.
I actually have some news. This will be off air. I'm going to... But anyway, yeah, I'm hoping that, I'll be able to utilize a couple of nap times here and there for research and writing to do more Tales We Tell.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Hey, a couple years, he's going to be writing them. Or in a couple years, honestly, we'll just throw him with Jarek in the backyard.
Might literally throw him.
Yeah.
Or, I might bring him over one day and just sit him on Jarek's lap while Jarek's playing video games. Yeah. Give him a fake controller, let him think that he's playing.
Exactly.
And just let him watch the video games.
Jarek's really good with Dante, so, and he... You know what? Jarek is really good with kids. I don't know why he pretends he's not. Maybe they just have to be, like, toddler-aged. Maybe it's the babies he freaks out
I'm
about.
not a baby person. I don't, I don't do well with other people's babies. I think I could probably do okay with other people's babies now that I've had my own. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I don't care about other people's babies.
Except for mine when I have one.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah, okay. Man, okay. Transition back to normal. Okay, well, my second announcement I was actually going to throw to you because it is our mental health check-in. Yep.
I just wanted to share that I have started up therapy again, and I figured I would just take that as an opportunity to remind people, there's nothing, wrong or bad going on in my life right now. I'm not, super depressed. Nothing is bad, and I don't need, you don't need a reason to, talk to somebody. It's good, you don't need a reason to go to the doctor. You go for your checkups.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's good.
check in with yourself and see if maybe you need to go check in with someone else and talk.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Wish me luck with that journey.
Yay.
But just wanted to put it out there as to help, I feel like the more that people talk about like, oh yeah, no, I'm in therapy, or I talk to somebody, I have a counselor, whatever.
Yeah.
The more we normalize it.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
That's all.
I try to bring up my therapist in casual conversation. And I did that because I'm still like I am in the phase of still getting to know my coworkers. Just in terms of like, I know them, but I don't know like all of their backgrounds and all that stuff. And I said something to I have a coworker who like stops by my office every time he walks by. And I just did my like, oh yeah, my therapist said this. Or I think I said something about bringing Kelly to therapy. And he was like, oh, you go to therapy? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, I hope everything's going well for you. And I was like, thanks, it is.
Yeah.
My therapist helps with that, actually.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like you don't need a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just an antiquated thing. It's like, I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
I need a therapist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're having trouble, seek a therapist.
Yeah.
But, also if you're not having trouble.
Yeah. Those are nice times when I get to go talk to my therapist and we really just get to catch up, and it's not me, having an existential crisis on her couch.
Yeah. I mean, my motivating things were for going back, because I've been in and out of therapy for years and years. But yeah, my motivating factor was basically my head felt like it was full of a lot of noise and I couldn't really sort through all of my thoughts. I was just starting to get real stressed about things, and also I have a big life decision coming up, and I wanted to talk through that with someone,
Yeah.
Is this the right decision or not?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sorry, that was my Diet Coke voicing its opinion, which is in favor of therapy. So, yeah, that's a good segue for my next announcement, which is our trigger warning or content warning. This is not a Dante safe episode. So Dante, I'm sorry, buddy. If you're listening to this and you are currently on your way to my house for Thanksgiving, I love you and I will see you soon. Skip this episode. I'm going to text Stephanie and make sure that you didn't listen to this one because it's not for children. Perhaps you might want to skip if you are extra sensitive to these things. A lot of homophobia, a lot of transphobia, some light, I don't want to say light animal cruelty, which I will skim over. Light cannibalism,
just dabbling
in that.
Just trying out different things, see what works. Like apparently the homophobia and transphobia worked really well.
Yeah,
maybe not so much the cannibalism and the animal cruelty.
Very light.
We've all got our tastes, right?
Just make yourself a drink. Okay, I'm just gonna go with that. I finished this up today, and this is one of those cases where I left out some of the details. So today we're gonna talk about the Snowtown Murders. It's an Australian town, so...
Okay, maybe it sounds like that, maybe it doesn't.
Maybe it doesn't. It's spelled that way, Snowtown. But it might be Snowden? I don't know. The name is not that important. But the town of Snowtown, or Snowden, is a rural town in South Australia. It's about 145 kilometers, or 90 miles, north of Adelaide. And it was... Adelaide! It was originally the land of the Kaurna people, and it was settled, quote unquote, in 1878. And it remained a relatively small, quiet, unnoticed town until 1999, which is where our story takes place. In November of 1998, which a year before, I realized I said 99. November 1998, Elizabeth Hayden, which is your first dossier picture, who is 37, was reported missing by her brother. Elizabeth's husband, Mark, and by the way, feel free as we go through this, if you need to shuffle back and forth between dossier pictures, it gets confusing. They're all labeled.
Lay them out or something.
Totally fine.
Okay.
Her husband, Mark.
Is he next photo?
No.
Okay.
He comes in much later.
We need to make up like a hand signal.
Oh, yeah.
Do like the flash.
I should
for when I need to change photo.
And even those dings, like in the, those books you could read as a kid
mm-hmm.
that also had the tapes that went along and they
like,
told you when to turn the page.
Turn the page.
I'll try to be like, but quieter, I guess. I'll
jazz hands.
Throw something at you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Elizabeth's husband, Mark, who will come in much later, had allegedly believed that Elizabeth had made sexual advances at one of his friends and then stormed out, leaving their 2 children behind when she was rejected by said friend. So the scenario is...
She hit on one of her husband's buddies. He said no thanks.
And she got mad and left.
Got it.
So her brother and the police are like, that's kind of suspicious. So the police are like, okay.
Surely it would take more than a rejection to leave for that period of time, especially leaving your child.
Yeah. So the police search Mark and Elizabeth's home and they don't find anything, but they notice that Mark's Land Rover is missing, and so they circulate his plates. And finally, in May of 1999, they had a break in the case of Elizabeth. Mark had moved to Snowden. I'm going to call it Snowden. That sounds right.
Okay.
With his friend John Bunting. And the 2 of them had rented a house that had an abandoned bank on the property.
I guess with the children?
No.
Nope,
just Mark and... Or just Mark and...
Where?
And John. Just, you know what? The children are of...
I am going to worry about them. I am concerned.
We're hoping that the children have gone to an aunt or uncle's house. We don't want them with Mark.
Okay.
Mark's not a good...
No.
Mark's going to show up later.
He's definitely giving me bad vibes.
Yeah, very much. Good call. Good call on that. So when police investigated the bank, they discovered... You may look at your next picture. 6 plastic barrels stored in the vault. And I bet you can't guess what was in those barrels.
Acid? And people?
Yeah. Yep. Acid and people. They contain the remains of 8 decomposing human bodies.
Hey, that's pretty good for these barrels.
I know.
6 barrels to hold 8 people?
I know. Although I did read somewhere that they weren't...
Is it like 8 people total? Like
it's 8. It's 8
pieces
total.
Of them.
They were cut up in different pieces. Although I did read in one source that they weren't decomposing because they used the wrong kind of acid. They were instead mummified. But they were still, like, dismembered and...
Yeah.
So... and then one of these bodies, obviously, was Elizabeth's. So they're like, hey, we solved one case.
Woohoo!
Gained 7 more. Okay. So, turns out that there were 4 men involved in this over the course of 7 years. And those men were John Bunting, who was the guy who was partly renting the property, Robert Wagner, James Hold on, I'm going to try again. James Vlasakis.
Sure.
That name is hard. And Mark Hayden, Elizabeth's husband. Okay. So, next picture. John Bunting. I'm just going to tell you about this piece of shit real quick. Just a fucking... Sorry.
On the edge of my seat here. Man.
Okay. John Bunting was born September 4th, 1966 in Inala, Queensland. So he did experience some tragedy. I'll give him this. At 8 years old, he was sexually abused by a friend's older brother. Now, I don't know if I don't know if his behavior as a child started happening before or after this, but he had a lot of behavior issues as a child. He bullied other children. He was very disruptive in school. And one of his favorite hobbies was torturing and killing small animals.
Cool.
I did look and see if he was a bedwetter or
Fire starter.
fire. I couldn't find that he was, just the animal torture. He would claim, however, that the sexual abuse that he suffered sparked a deep and intense hatred in him for pedophiles and homosexuals. And I think in his mind, he thought that they were one and the same.
Probably.
Which is not okay.
I mean, I can see how the trauma to an 8-year-old's brain would make those connections.
Yes.
And, you know, lead to, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not accurate.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, I could see how an 8-year-old's brain would make those connections, and without any kind of intervention or correction or anything, it would be, you know, it would fester and grow and turn into something really horrible and ugly.
Yes. Yeah, he was definitely failed by probably many adults in his life. And I hate, because I know that we do try and take mental illness and stuff into account.
It can explain, but it doesn't excuse.
Yeah, and I think when we get into some of the stuff that he did, his main motivation behind everything is he would say he believes that pedophiles and homosexuals, which I guess he in his head believed that all homosexuals were the same, needed to be punished because he believed they were hurting kids. I feel like it's very like QAnon-y, like, okay, so whatever. When he was 22 in 1986, he started working at SA Meat Corporation, and he allegedly would brag to people about how he enjoyed the slaughtering of the animals, which, yeah. This is where I'm like, okay, you might just be a psychopath. And around this time, he also moved in with a friend named Kevin Reed, and while living with him, he killed his dog. Yep. And Kevin kept letting him live with him, so not Kevin.
Kevin sucks too.
Yeah, Kevin's off the list of allowed to adopt at the shelter. Okay. John had he had what he called a, quote, rock spider wall in his room. Okay, so the term rock spider, which I'm not going to use anymore because I feel like it might be derogatory, and I tried to look it up, and it wasn't clear. I was also using my work computer, and I didn't want to type that in too much.
Did you go clear your history after, or did you do this in incognito mode?
No, I didn't do any of those things.
Oh.
I know.
It's
a prison slang term in Australia for pedophiles. It is a derogatory term for something else, but unrelated to pedophiles. I don't know. I just felt uncomfortable using it. So anyways, he had this wall. So I should have included this picture. Picture the Charlie Day meme.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, as soon as you explained what the wall was, something about or another term for pedophiles, I'm like, oh, this must be like pictures and newspaper clippings of pedophiles who've been, you know, arrested, trial articles and whatnot.
You're giving him far too much credit.
Oh, goodness.
It's
or is it just random people that he decided he didn't like because he assumes they're pedophiles?
Exactly. It's cool. That. It was people that he suspected of being either pedophiles or homosexuals connected with yarn.
But, you know, if you're a homosexual, you probably you're not just after, you know, men, you're also after little boys.
Yeah. Like, let's be clear. One of the things I don't know. It's
Why didn't you tell me to bring 2 ginger ales?
I'm sorry. I've got some Diet Coke left, and
I've got a little bit more.
That's why I left the whiskey in here so we could make 2 drinks.
Good call. Good call.
So he kept details of the people that he put up on the wall, which again, people got on the wall for rumors, for just John thought that maybe they could be. He didn't like the way they looked. He thought they walked funny, like whatever. Sometimes he would call them at random and just verbally abuse them over the phone and tell them that they were going to get what was coming to them. And despite all of these super bright red flags about John, he was also apparently pretty charming and charismatic and was able to get people to like listen to the crazy stuff he was saying. Enter Robert Wagner. That was your...
Yeah, no,
sorry.
I thought it was. It's just...
Sorry, I should have done jazz hands.
This is new. We're still learning.
Okay. Robert Wagner...
he looks like he wants to listen to crazy.
Right?
Like, he wants to listen to crazy and spew even crazier.
I know. He really does look very much...
creep.
He looks like part of a white supremacist gang.
He looks like, what's his face from Law and Order and Wet Hot American Summer? The chef?
Oh, Stabler?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You don't watch SVU.
No. But no, he looks like him, but like obviously playing a part. It looks like that actor in a movie. He could play Robert Wagner in a movie or show.
But way creepier, everyone. Not as hot as Elliot Stabler.
That's his name.
Everyone else knows who Elliot Stabler is.
I promise one day I will watch Law and Order.
You have to watch all 27 seasons that are currently out.
Can I only watch SVU?
Yes. Yeah.
There's like, what, 6 different Law and Orders?
I don't watch anything but SVU. Okay. But you do have to watch all 27 seasons of it. Including after Stabler leaves and it's just Olivia.
Well, why would I watch without him?
Because Olivia Benson is a badass.
Yeah. I don't know who she is, so it doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh, Mariska Hargitay. Okay. Robert Wagner meets John Bunting in 1991, and John is pretty easily able to convince him to join him on his vendetta against homosexuals and pedophiles, which again, lumping together. Robert was 20 at the time that he met John. And very quickly, the two men... Yeah.
Just imagine glasses and a goatee.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, wow, the noses are way more similar than I thought. Okay. All right. I'll give it to you.
Okay. Jarek, you can cut all that out. Except for the part where I'm right.
Whatever.
Okay, so sorry.
Okay.
I interrupted. Go ahead.
Okay.
Rewind a little bit. Met Robert Wagner.
Okay. Robert was 20 when he met John. And very quickly, the two men decided that something had to be done about the men that they viewed as a danger to the public. According to Robert, he said this at trial. Spoiler. They went to trial.
Well, the fact that at least one of those photos definitely looks like a trial photo. The other one looks like maybe he's walking into the courthouse. This one, he's actively handcuffed. I'm going to go with,
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that picture is actually cropped from that other picture. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Robert's shoulder in that photo.
Yeah. Okay, this is a quote from Robert. Pedophiles were doing terrible things to children.
Fact.
Mm-hmm. The authorities didn't do anything about it.
Sometimes possibly a fact.
Okay. I decided to take action.
Ill-advised.
Yeah, this is... Let's like dissect that statement.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with this, is these people are going after pedophiles, and you're like, yes, those are bad people doing bad things.
Yeah.
But you are not the person to be making those calls or taking those things into your own hands.
Are you ready for a curveball? Are you ready for the first curveball?
Bring it on.
Okay. So, John moved in with Robert and his partner. Robert was dating Barry Lane, who has also been described as a transgender woman who went by Vanessa Lane. And here's where I do want to take a quick... Okay. So my sources were not clear on whether they were transgender or just a homosexual man.
Would wear drag sometimes, or
Yeah.
had a, like a drag character or something.
Yeah, and I saw the names Vanessa and Barry, which I think is the next picture. I'm not sure. Yeah. God, so sweet. So, in the interest of respect, because I don't know, I'm choosing to just call them Lane, which is the last name, and I'm going to use they, them pronouns just to be safe.
And I'll do my best to do the same, but I've got a photo of a male presenting person in front of me. So if I say he...
Exactly. I had to go back and change my notes 1,000 times. It was very confusing. I also, there's one of the victims, I got through my entire notes using he, him pronouns. At the very end, when I was double checking everything, Wikipedia had them listed as a transgender female, and I was like, fuck. And so I went back and did the same thing. We'll get to that. It's a whole thing.
Okay. So Lane, at one point, Barry Lane, at other points, Vanessa Lane, was the significant other of Robert Wagner.
Yes.
When John, I just had to double check the name, when John met them. Okay.
Yep. And moves in with them. So
I guess Robert was like, yeah, absolutely down with pedophiles, but homosexuals are okay. Actually,
very unclear.
Maybe homosexuals aren't okay, and that's why I'm with Vanessa.
Yeah, super unclear. I have no idea what they're... I don't know.
When you're this crazy, like, obviously he's crazy because one of my first photos was barrels of acid and people.
Yeah.
So obviously he's twisted in the brain.
Yeah.
They're gonna come up with their own logic.
Yeah. So,
no point in trying to follow it.
Yeah. So John, I guess, was aware of Lane's sexual orientation and gender identity, and despite his entire identity being about hating homosexuals and pedophiles, and I cannot imagine what his stance was on transgender people.
John was cool with him.
Yeah. He, quote, accepted Lane as a, quote, friend.
And this is John you're talking about.
Yes, this is John.
I just wanted to be clear because you were using the he pronouns. I just wanted to specify.
Yes. John is like the ringleader of everything. John's the only one that really has an opinion, it kind of seems. And this also may have been because he used Lane as like an informant to let him know what was going on in the local LGBTQ community.
Got it. So he's a mole. Or
kind of.
They were a mole.
Yeah, yes. I don't know necessarily that... Well, we'll get to it. Okay. Whew. All right. In August of 1992, John invited Clinton Trezise, who's 22, over to his house in Lower Light, South Australia. John had apparently found out that Clinton was involved in a sexual relationship with Lane. And at this point, he had sent Robert and Lane off on like an errand. So it was just John. Once inside the house, John accused Clinton of being a pedophile. And then he beat him to death with either a shovel or a hammer in his living room. Then he called Robert and Lane and had them come home and made them help him bury the body in the backyard. And Clinton would remain a missing person for more than 5 years before his body was discovered. So that was 1992. In 1994, John married his girlfriend, Elizabeth Harvey. A bunch of Elizabeths, by the way. I don't know why. Not that one.
It's a nice name.
It is a nice name.
It's mine for a while. My middle name.
Oh, okay. I was like, no, it's not. I was like, no. I was like, Lizzie. No. So he marries Elizabeth Harvey and becomes the stepfather to her children.
Who does?
John.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry. John. Big.
John marries Elizabeth.
Yeah. Boy John.
A different Elizabeth than the one we started with. She
has a couple kids, I think by different men. But one of them is James Flasakis, if that name sounded familiar.
Yeah.
He's 15 at the time that John becomes his stepfather. So there is obviously a power dynamic between John and James, because John is like a father to James. John spends a lot of time telling James how much he hates homosexuals and pedophiles. And eventually, James tells John that his older brother Troy had molested him when he was 13, to which John obviously replied by saying, oh, well, we should kill Troy then. James, the 15-year-old, is also addicted to heroin during this time and is in a methadone program.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, Troy, the older brother, who allegedly assaulted James.
Yeah.
Is he also one of John's stepsons, or is he a brother? Like, is it James's real father's son with another woman?
I think that he is a half-brother of James.
So it would be his father's, his birth father's other son, older son.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's unclear. Like, I feel like, I don't really know.
Troy is not living with John and Elizabeth and James.
Right, not at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's background. They'll all come back later. This is why you got pictures for everyone.
Wild ride, folks.
I know. In 1995, John and Robert, so our two boys in blue.
Mm-hmm. John and Christopher Maloney.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Maloney. Good job.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Christopher Maloney. I'm not besmirching. I'm just saying.
No,
if anyone ever made this story into a movie, he would be the perfect actor for it. Time to take a sip.
Christopher Maloney is not in the movie.
Damn it! They messed up on casting.
It's a younger. They're much younger in the movie.
Got it.
I'll get to that at the end. It's at the end of my notes. Okay. In 1995, John and Robert become aware of a man named Ray Davies.
Nope,
Sorry, that's
you didn't give me jazz hands.
Sorry, I forgot. I had a picture of James Vlasakis. That's the kid.
He looks like a smug little bastard.
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot I had all these pictures. Okay. Ray Davies.
He looks familiar too.
He looks like
someone else I've seen before on, I don't know. Also, he's got nostril mustache. Snot stash, where his mustache literally looks like it's pouring out of his nose and going across his upper lip, because like there's a raw open space right there in the middle of his top lip.
He looks like there's an actor that I feel like he looks like, and the only thing I can think of is a bad horror movie that Jarek and I watched about a guy trying to murder someone. And that sitcom with Tim Allen, not Home Alone, the other one, Last Man Standing. Ray Davies was a young man with mental disabilities and known to accompany Lane when they went to local bars to pick up men. Ray was also allegedly known for exposing himself to school children. And it's unclear if this was like something he was convicted for, or if this was just like a rumor around town. I don't know.
Or maybe it was a drunken incident that happened once.
Yeah.
Or, it kind of like, I think there's been like TV shows or movies where it's a comedic thing of like, oh, I'm labeled a sex offender because I got drunk and urinated in a public park or something. Or I peed on the side of a school building even though kids weren't around or whatever. Basically, it's
a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Or
it could be that he had some mental issues and did, for some reason, expose himself to children.
Exactly.
It could be anything.
Exactly. So Ray was in a relationship with a woman named Suzanne Allen, who was 47. Ray was 26, by the way. I put that on your paper.
Yeah, I see that.
I didn't say that out loud.
Suzanne reminds me of Elizabeth. They got the same round face with, like, the puffy, rosy cheeks.
Yeah. So, Ray was dating Suzanne for a little bit, and then they broke
I guess
up.
he was bisexual?
I guess. I don't...
Because he went with Lane to pick up men.
He would go with Lane to pick up men. And I don't know if he was also picking up men, or if he was just, like...
Just wingmanning.
Like, being a wingman. But
Lane was also 42, at least in the photo.
Yeah,
there, so.
that's true.
Anywho, okay.
Anyway. So, when Ray and Suzanne broke up, Ray moved into a trailer behind her house. And on December 26th of 1995, Suzanne's grandson came to her and told her that Ray had been molesting him. So that same day, Suzanne and her daughter went to report that abuse to the police, which is the correct thing to do.
Yes, good.
Well,
also make sure that your son can no longer be.
Yes, I'm like, hopefully they took the son with them. Yeah. Well, while they were gone, somehow word had gotten down the street to where John was living at the time. And he and Robert went over and kidnapped Ray. They drove him 127 kilometers, or about 80 miles, away to another property that John had. There, they beat him repeatedly and then drove him back to the home that John shared with his wife, Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. Once there, they invited Elizabeth to join them, which she did. She stabbed Ray in the legs several times, and then both Elizabeth and Robert strangled him to death while John watched. And then they buried him in the backyard, and he was never reported missing, which I think is very sad.
That is very sad. Which is strange also because I feel like if Suzanne is going to the police to report this abuse, the police would be following up, at least interviewing Ray, so they would have had to come and look for him.
I feel like, based on some stuff that happens later, I feel like when Suzanne comes back, John tells her, "Don't worry about it, I took care of him. Like, he's not going to hurt your kid anymore." She acts towards John, not like she's afraid of him, but kind of like she's very grateful to him, or she's very, like, happy with him.
Savior or hero or anything, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
And I think it was kind of implied, like, you don't need to report him missing, you don't need to report him to the police, I took care of it, he's not going to bother anyone anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. John, after this, told James, so his stepson.
His stepson, yeah.
That his mother, Elizabeth, had killed Ray. So he's like, "Oh, by the way, your mom killed that guy." So, in 1996, John and Elizabeth move out to John's property where they had taken Ray, along with a bunch of her kids. And Suzanne, apparently, I don't know if she knew, whatever. Suzanne, at this point, had developed a crush on John. So, this is what I'm saying. I feel like maybe she felt like he was her protector or something.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it is savior or hero complex.
They had, like, some kind of an affair. She went out to the property. She spent a weekend with him. But he slept with her and then told her, essentially, he didn't have any feelings for her. It was just, like, he was in it for the sex. Mm-hmm. She was devastated. She went home. She started writing him letters. And then, according to...
There are no heroes in this story, are there?
No. Yeah, sorry. No, there's not going to be anyone that I... No. I mean, maybe, like, the cops that I don't know.
Took 6 months to find Elizabeth.
I don't know.
Elizabeth Hayden. The first.
Yeah, sorry. So, according to James Vlasakis, what happened next is that at some point that year, John and Robert, who were like, I don't know, buddies, butt buddies, I don't know what they are. Like, they're just always doing everything together. John and Robert went to check on Suzanne, and they just found her dead in her bathroom from an apparent heart attack. So,
well, I'm sure Elizabeth probably wouldn't have appreciated any kind of affair or all these love
Yeah,
letters coming,
yeah.
so John might have needed to make sure that the love letters stopped.
yeah. So, like, very convenient. You went to check on this, like, problem, and she was dead. So, naturally, they cut up her body and put it in 11 plastic bags. Like, just shopping bags. Not, like, trash bags. Just, like, a Walmart shopping bag, or the Australian equivalent.
Grocery bags.
And they buried her in the garden. And then they obviously did not report her death because they had just
Why would they?
dismembered her body. And then they collected her pension checks from then on out. Which is something they would start doing now that they, like, caught on to.
Because there's no money in murder, you know?
Well, there is.
If you murder the right people.
If you murder the right people. 1997, just right along through the years.
Cool.
I'm 7 years old at this point. You're 8 years old. We're 12 hours across the ocean in good old America, living our lives. Okay. Robert's girlfriend's cousin had a friend. Okay. That friend's name was...
Tough one to follow because I had to go and check my thingies.
I know. Poor Katy has 7 pictures to look at right now. Well, 8 if you put down Suzanne.
9 if I uncover the...
This is true. You can put Suzanne down now. You're ready for your next one. So, this friend's name was either Michael or Michelle Gardner. So this is another instance where I had them as Michael the entire time, and then last minute. So I'm going to refer to them as Gardner.
I guess when these things were originally reported, the reporters probably used their birth name.
Yeah.
Which I think people refer to as their dead name once they've, like, transitioned and they are identifying solely as...
Yeah. And this is one where they referred to them as a male homosexual who practiced cross-dressing.
Okay.
So,
also the 90s when... How do I say this?
Yeah, where...
Like, it wasn't that it was less common, it was just less talked about, and because people weren't talking about it, it was less understood.
Yeah.
And people didn't know the proper way of, I guess, labeling things.
Yeah. So this is the situation.
I probably still get it wrong. So.
Well,
I try.
And again, if we don't, they're not here for us to ask them.
Yep.
And everything that I read, they were called by the name that they were born with. I literally checked the Wikipedia article to make sure I had gotten all of the victims' names in the correct order. And there, it had the female name, Michelle, and then it had born as. And that's when I was like, did I mess that up? So it was them and Lane were the only two that were like that. And so, again, just because they're not here for us to ask, and because it was, like you said, a situation where it was less common and less not less common, but less understood.
Yeah. So
we don't know.
It's not that it was less common. It was more closeted and secretive.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know which names. Yeah, we don't know which names or which pronouns, but after everything that, certainly, regardless of what they went through, we want to be respectful. So Gardner is what we're going with.
We're trying, and we apologize to anyone if we get things wrong.
Yeah.
We don't intend.
Yes, we're absolutely trying. So Gardner was 19, and they were openly gay, and
Sweet smile.
We take that part out because I already said that part, and whatever. Yes, very nice smile, and looks like a ginger too, maybe.
It's very dark hair.
But the
the face, yes, looks very
gingery.
Fair. But the rest
it's the printer. It's that state paid for printer.
Text me a photo of them looking ginger then.
Okay, I probably won't find one.
Because they're not ginger.
Okay.
I may not know their preferred pronouns, but I know that they're not ginger.
Okay, whatever.
They're just very fair-skinned.
In this light. Okay, whatever. I may not know their preferred pronouns, but I do know they're not ginger. Okay. So one day, Gardner was babysitting the girlfriend's children. So Robert's girlfriend. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Very confusing.
Their cousin's children.
No, Robert's girlfriend's children.
Yeah, but Gardner is Robert's girlfriend's cousin.
No. Gardner is Robert's girlfriend's cousin's friend.
Oh, God. So
the reason that they know Gardner
is
an acquaintance
babysitting their friend's cousin's kids. I'm going backwards.
They're babysitting Robert's girlfriend's kids.
Okay, yeah. I'm saying the same thing as you.
Okay,
it's
sorry.
Just backwards.
Yes. Okay, sorry.
The other half of.
I shouldn't have said how we know Gardner. They're an acquaintance.
Okay.
Okay.
Tangentially related.
Sorry.
6 degrees of separation.
Yes. They are babysitting children. We'll just leave it at that.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, so Robert comes home.
Heaven forbid an openly gay person is in the vicinity of children.
I know. Who let Robert around these people?
Who let John exist?
That's a great point. Ugh.
You can tell it's a whiskey episode. We're getting very loud.
So Robert comes home and he finds Gardner with his hand covering one of the child's mouth as like part of a game that they're playing. So like, I don't know what game it was, but like, I guess they were being physical with the children in some way that Robert misinterpreted, obviously because he's Robert, and was uncomfortable with.
My child loves to climb on anything and everything, and I am his favorite obstacle. And oftentimes I'll be sitting on the floor and he'll be in between my legs and climb up me.
I mean,
but that's him playing a game,
your
not
kid
anything.
Bit me last time I saw.
I am a glorified chew toy.
That's fair. I mean,
he chews. He doesn't just bite me. He chews on me.
He came
all
out
the time. And I was saying earlier, I was like, I don't know if this is a promotion or a step down from being a glorified dairy cow, which is what I was for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Until he weaned himself.
Well, good. I mean, thank God that he weaned himself before you became the chew toy, because, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he was still breastfeeding some even when his teeth came in, and it was never a problem.
Oh.
So, like, I didn't even feel that he had teeth.
Lucky. Well, now you know he has teeth. So.
Oh, I know. And he's working on more teeth, and he's making it everyone's problem. Oh. No, he's good right now.
Listen, we already had the conversation where I cried about how old your child's getting. And then okay, we're not going to go there. This is already, okay, I got to slow it down on the...
So Gardner's playing a game, and he's got his hand over the kid's mouth.
Yes, they have their hand over the kid's mouth.
They're probably playing something like hide and seek, and the kid was giggling, so he was like, you got to be quiet so they don't find us. Yeah.
And Robert, of course, is a dip and just whatever. So,
yeah, for no reason, I'm sure.
So in September, the girlfriend's cousin is going on vacation, and Gardner volunteers to house sit for her. They also let the cousin know that they are planning on moving out of town when she returns. So this is actually probably a great opportunity. Gardner's like, hey, I'm like in between houses now, so I'll watch your house while you're gone, and then when you come back, I'm moving out of town. Mm-hmm. Well, John and Robert took this opportunity to go pick Gardner up
While they were house sitting.
Drive them to John's house, and strangle them to death. Because Gardner had told everyone that they were moving out of town, no one questioned their disappearance for a while. You want to refill your drink real quick?
Yeah, we can do a timeout.
Okay. Because it's just downhill from here.
I know. I feel like we haven't even gotten to like the truly horrible stuff yet.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we've, dipped our toes in the sand because the cannibalism hasn't come up yet.
Oh, yeah, that comes up at the very end. Meanwhile, Lane had been having a really hard time dealing with having been forced to assist in Clinton's death. So they had told their mother and one of John's ex-girlfriends about the murder. The ex-girlfriend confronted John, who was like, oh yeah, we murdered Clinton. Because, whatever. And around the same time, a man named Thomas Trevelyan, who was 18, which I don't have a picture of him. And he was someone that Lane had dated briefly, I think. Thomas went to John and said that Lane had been sexually abusing him, which we have no idea if there's any truth to that.
Oh, no.
So...
just more fuel in the fire to get rid of Lane.
I know. So, on October 17th of 1997, Robert, John, and Thomas, this new guy that we don't have a picture of, picked up Lane. The following morning, they forced them to call their mother and forced them to verbally abuse her before saying that they were going to Queensland. And Lane's mother said that they could hear Thomas in the background telling them what to say. So, it was clear that Lane wasn't just saying these things. They were being coerced.
They're being fed the lines. And
yeah. Which... thank goodness, at least, that their mother knew.
Yeah, knew better than to think, this is not how my child thinks and talks to me.
Then they took Lane back to the home that they shared with their fiancé, which I guess Lane is bisexual, by the way, because their fiancé was a female.
Okay.
Woman. I don't know why I said that weird. A female woman.
I think it's because this is very confusing.
Yes, it is.
There are people with multiple names and gender identities, and we're trying very hard to be respectful with a lack of specific information. It's like we were graced with an overabundance of information and a lack of specifics.
Yes.
And we're just trying to be respectful to everyone.
This is very true.
And there's a lot of whiskey, so we're just extra silly, so it's fine. It's fine.
I know, and everything's awful. And I know too much information that you don't know yet. Okay, so they take Lane back to the home that they share with their fiancé, and they tortured them for their bank account information by crushing their toes with pliers. Oof. And then the men strangled them and rolled them up in a carpet where they left them in the house. When their fiancé returned home and found Lane gone, she reported them missing to the police. Sadly, she did not realize...
Lane was not gone. Lane was still at home.
Yeah, she did not realize that their body was in the rolled up carpet.
How long did it take her to realize or to find him?
She never did.
Did they put Lane in a room of the house that she just never went into, or?
No, she had to step over the carpet every day to get the pet food to feed her pets.
Did she not question the rolled up rug? I guess.
I don't know.
Did she not realize that it was starting to smell pretty bad?
Well, after 4 days, John and Robert came back while she was gone and got the body. Which I don't know if she then thought, like, hey, my house has been broken into and they took our rolled up rug.
I mean, how do you not realize I was literally stepping over a rug for days?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm an oblivious person to things sometimes, but I notice when things change. I was driving down the street the other day and I was like, that's different. I can't tell you what was there before, but something's changed. It drives me crazy when that happens.
I'm going to wrap up, Jared. When we... This is an awful thing to compare it to, but I have to.
I already see where you're going with this.
You know where I'm going. Okay.
You're going to wrap up Jarek in a carpet and put him by the door so that I'm going to have to step over him when I leave and come in.
I mean, I wasn't going to go that far. I was just going to say, you were at Friendsgiving last year.
Mm-hmm. We brought the casserole.
It was in the parlor. So now we're having 11 people plus a baby. And there's allegedly an 8-foot table that's going to go in there.
We barely fit with the...
That was a 6-foot table.
6 of us.
At
right?
a 6-foot table, so with an 8-foot table.
Well, you still barely fit with the 6-foot table.
Listen, Katie, I'm living on a dream here. Anyways, so I'm going to move...
like a nightmare to me, because all that space.
Everything out of... I'm going to move the chair this time. The chair is going to be gone. But I was thinking of taking the rug up.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do that...
probably smart for avoiding foodstuffs in the carpet.
I might roll up Jarek in the rug and see how noticeable it is.
Oh, it'll be noticeable.
It's... Well, maybe it was a large rug. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I really like Lane. Lane was my favorite person in this whole story.
Gardner's mine. I mean, look at this sweet smile.
I know.
Please don't make me stare at it for much longer.
The ginger face. The ginger hair. Okay. Well, Thomas. Remember Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
The guy that sold out Lane?
Mm-hmm.
So...
No, didn't sell him out, put a target on his back.
Yeah, put target
on their back.
On their back. So, Thomas moved in with Robert and his girlfriend after Lane's death. I don't know why, but he did.
Was Thomas not a known homosexual, or was he not out, or... Because you said he had a relationship with Lane.
Yeah, I don't remember. They make up their own rules. I don't really know. He probably was like, I used to be one, but now I'm not. I don't know. Maybe that's how they...
Maybe he had a relationship with... Was it Vanessa, Veronica? What was Lane's female identity?
Vanessa.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he had a relationship or run-in with Vanessa and didn't realize.
I don't really know. I have no idea. Okay. So, Thomas, what I didn't mention before, which we probably should be more sympathetic towards Thomas. Thomas suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and delusions. Delightful. He also carried a knife. All the time. And understandably, Robert's girlfriend, who, remember, has a small child, was not a fan of having this person living with them. On November 4th of 1997, Thomas tried, unsuccessfully, to kill a puppy that the child was playing with. Unsuccessfully. He was stopped before the puppy was hurt. But that evening, John told Robert and now James Lasakis, who's in on it, that Thomas was a risk to them. John had also...
Who said Thomas was a risk?
John.
John, okay.
The ring, yeah.
All right, sorry.
That's okay. It's always John. John's always the one saying. Robert had that one thing he said in court, and that's kind of all he says. John apparently had also found out that Thomas had told someone about Lane's murder, so he was kind of mad. So the three of them, John, Robert, and James, took Thomas for a ride. And the following day, Thomas's body was found hanging from a tree in the Adelaide Hills. And because of his history of mental illness, past suicide attempts, his death was just ruled a suicide.
Delightful.
Yep. Okay. April 1998. Sorry, it's all going to start with dates. John picked his next victim based on who made him mad, I guess. So, Gavin Porter. Gavin Porter was a 29-year-old who had met James in the methadone program they were both in. Sorry, that is the only...
he looks like he's...
I was going to say, that's the only picture I could find.
Sorry, Gavin, but...
It's not the best picture.
Yeah, that is not a flattering photo of you, sir.
It's also very pixelated, so, maybe if we cleaned it up, it'd be a little...
His eyes might be level.
No, his eyes are not going to point the same direction.
Or even be level.
That's not something we can fix.
Literally looks...
Not everyone has level eyes.
I'm sorry. I'm being mean. I'm being a bitch. I apologize. I blame the whiskey.
That's okay. We're gonna...
It's just a very bad pixelated photo.
Yeah, it's not a good picture. After Gavin's mother... I also... Oh, I thought
I think it's just the shadows make it look like his eye is down here and this one is up higher. Like, it's literally just the photo and me being mean. A mean girl. And I apologize. I'm not a mean girl. I'm not a mean girl.
So after Gavin's mother died in 1997, he moved in with James and his family, which means he moved in with John. One day in April... John sat down on the couch and he was pricked by a used syringe that Gavin had left lying around. Which, to be fair, is a reason to be upset.
Yeah.
But not a reason to murder someone.
Nope.
But that was all John needed. So, that night, John and Robert attacked Gavin while he slept in his car. I'm sorry, if he's living with you, why are you making him sleep in his car?
It's more so he's living in his car and you let him use the shower and bathroom.
Yeah.
And apparently the couch for shooting up.
Or like you're just letting him sleep in your driveway. I don't know.
And how do you know it was Gavin's and not James? Because James is also a
heroin user.
I guess recovering heroin user if he's at a methadone clinic.
I don't know. Maybe they had color-coded syringes. Gavin was able to fight back some and did stab John in the hand with a screwdriver. So Gavin is
good for Gavin.
The hero that we...
That's what I was about to say. He's the only hero of the story so far.
John and Robert did eventually overpower him and strangled him to death. And John showed James his body before they got rid of it. Meanwhile, a little check-in. Police were investigating Lane's disappearance because their fiance had reported them missing. Mm-hmm. And I guess they had not come over within the 4-day period that Lane's body was literally in the house. Oh my gosh. Which,
that's the thing I can't get over.
Yeah, literally if police had come over in that time period, they would have been like, ma'am,
why is your rolled up rug real lumpy?
Why does it look like there's a body in your rug? So police found that the same ATM was being used to withdraw from Lane's account every pension day because Lane received a pension. So
these people that get to retire in their 40s and get a pension, like,
I think maybe he was like they were disabled. Maybe, I'm not sure.
But also Suzanne, she's 47. They were collecting her pension too.
I don't know. Maybe she was disabled. I don't know. Or maybe they do that thing where, like, you save up all of your leave time and then you get to, like, use it to retire early. That's an option for me, by the way.
Nice.
I'm not going to do it. I'm
no,
going to use
you're
on
not.
my leave.
You're absolutely.
I'm going to use on my leave time.
Do it.
They're like, oh, it would be real nice if we had cameras on these ATMs. So they installed security cameras, which I didn't know they didn't have those then.
They still don't have cameras on, like, all ATMs.
They should. Anyways, so they installed cameras and they quickly figured out Robert was making these withdrawals. And because Robert and John do everything together, and John's like the sketchiest person alive. They like linked them up, put them under surveillance, and tapped their phones. So they're now, like, officially under the suspicion of police. So, sometime around this time in 1998, John met Mark Hayden, who was 40. Kind of looks like Charles Manson.
He does. He's got like this angry scowl that matches his beard and a little bit of crazy hair.
Yeah.
Just hair with a lot of volume.
Yeah. John had briefly dated Mark's sister-in-law, so I don't know if that's how they met. While he's still married, mind you. But per John's MO, he coerced Mark into helping him kill people. So just add Mark. Now we have all 4 of them together. I said there were 4. Now we have 4.
We've got our Mark, Robert, James, and
yes,
John.
All of the people who look like they're being brought into or already in court.
Yep.
August 1998. John decides it's finally time to kill James's brother, Troy. His last name is Yude, and he's 21. So, Troy, as a reminder,
was the older brother who allegedly assaulted James.
Yes, when he was 13. So, one night, John, Robert, and now Mark attacked Troy while he was sleeping. And I believe at this point, Troy is now living with John and the family. They tied him up and dragged him into the bathtub where they beat him and forced him to give them his financial details with the pliers to the toe thing.
Well, it worked really well for Lane, so.
I know, gosh. And then they made him say a series of words and phrases that they recorded. And then they strangled him. And John would later use a program called SoundForge to put the recordings of Troy together into messages that he could use to convince friends and family that he was
alive.
Yeah. And he would also do this with other victims. And he actually put together a recording, and I didn't write down what he called it. I think it was Voices of Death or something. Where he
morbid
combined them all together. Yeah. Fucking weird hobbies, man. I don't know, learn to fish or something. Ugh. Okay. In September, so this is now officially the point where we're escalating. So before there were years.
It was one a year, it felt like.
So now we're in 1998. Gavin was in April. Troy is in August.
Now we're in September.
So in September, John became obsessed with the idea of killing Mark's nephew. So Mark's the new guy.
Yep.
His nephew is Fred Brooks. This one is the one that when I texted you that we were going to be drinking whiskey.
This is when the light cannibalism comes in?
No, still not that. Okay. This is just the one that broke my heart the most. Fred was 18. He was a young man with mental disabilities. I know, he looks like a guy I used to go to church with when I was in middle school and I had a crush on. Who, fun fact, lives in New Bern now. With his wife and 8 beautiful children or something. So Fred is Mark's nephew. Mm-hmm. Okay. Fred was a young man with mental disabilities, and for some reason, John believed that he had been, quote, touching up young girls. Again, we have no idea where John got this idea, if it was just a rumor, if he just didn't like the way that Fred looked or walked or talked. I don't know.
Maybe Fred had the audacity to say something like, "That's a pretty girl," and pointed at a 16-year-old or...
Yeah, exactly. And again, when it comes to people who... we have no idea, or I have no idea, to what extent his mental disabilities were, whatever. John Bunting and his fucking
Racist, stupid agenda.
Yeah.
Not racist, but homophobic.
Might as well be. He probably was also.
Probably.
Whatever. In September of 98, Fred got accepted into the Air Force Cadets, and he was really, really excited about this. And he was going to go to a party. I don't know if it was to celebrate that specific thing or if it was
guessing his mental issues must not have been, like, very severe at all if he was accepted into a military branch.
Well, I mean, it was Air Force Cadets, so I don't know if it was... I don't know. It made it sound like it wasn't, like...
I'm not familiar with
the
names of armed forces.
Well, it's also Australia, so who knows?
Didn't even know they had an Air Force.
Not to slight Australia. I don't know. So, anyways, he was going to go to a party, which he was also very excited about. But John, Robert, and James convinced him to join them for a break and enter that they had planned instead. So, at John's house, they told Fred, hey, you need to try on these handcuffs because if you get caught by police, you need to make sure that you can get out of the handcuffs. And so Fred tried on the handcuffs.
And never took them off.
Yeah. Once handcuffed, they gagged him, beat him, and tortured him with electric shocks, cigarette butts, and a lot of other things that I will not mention. Then they left him to choke to death on his gag. In November, James picked a random person that lived nearby because he thought that this person happened to look like Troy. Gary O'Dwyer was 29. I don't think he looks anything like Troy.
No, not based on the photos, but again, that's a side photo. And
yeah, none of the best pictures, but Gary O'Dwyer was 29, and he had been in a car accident 5 years earlier, which left him physically and mentally disabled. Again, we don't know to what extent.
Traumatic brain injury, I guess.
And he had only recently left his foster home to live on his own when James, quote, befriended him. James convinced him to invite John and Robert over for drinks, which he did. Again, I just need to point out, they literally just targeted this man because
he might resemble another guy who allegedly assaulted.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you look like a guy that did something bad. That's not how stuff works. So he invited them over. Once they were there, they tied him up. They tortured him for a little bit, and then they left him there for a couple hours before returning that night and strangling him to death. They then took his body to Mark's house, our buddy Mark, who, doesn't do a lot, and put it in a barrel and kept it in his shed. And this is where they had been keeping a lot of bodies, it turns out. Spoiler. This actually brings us back to the beginning of the story when Elizabeth Hayden went missing. You don't get her picture again.
I know. I didn't know if it was another person or something else.
Yeah, sorry.
You said back to the beginning. I was thinking not barrels, but maybe more barrels or something.
No, sorry. There is another person after this.
Yeah.
So, like we said at the beginning, Mark had told police that Elizabeth had left after
a failed attempt at a sexual pass at one of his friends.
Yes, which that friend was John. Which,
okay.
I know. I'm like, okay, John. What actually happened is that John found out that Mark had told Elizabeth about the murders. So he sent Mark away, and then John and Robert killed her. At this point, they decided that they needed to move their body barrels from Mark's shed, possibly because his wife was now in one of them. So they moved them onto a friend's property in the Adelaide Plains, telling them that the barrels contained kangaroo carcasses.
Why? Why would you have barrels of dead kangaroo? Someone who's in Australia or maybe has even just been there. Someone explain to me, why would you have a barrel full of dead kangaroo?
That was my question, is if we have any Australian listeners, that's still really, that's like kind of sus, right? Like, that's what the kids say.
Kind of?
Kind of.
That's super sus.
Like, if someone came to us, because I'm thinking the equivalent of a kangaroo in America in North Carolina would be what, like a squirrel? Maybe?
No, I mean, obviously
a deer?
Maybe a deer.
A deer.
Deer sounds good because it's bigger, they're common but not super common.
If someone came to you and was like, I have 6 barrels, they contain deer.
I'd be like, why the hell didn't you turn that thing into jerky?
Yeah.
Or sausage, or both.
Seems like a waste of...
That's a waste of deer.
You eat
Which, this is also... I'm going to take a sip now because we're talking about wasting meat, and you did mention something about cannibalism at one point.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So, I'm taking a sip.
Sorry. Do they eat kangaroo in Australia?
I think... Possibly. I think it's probably about as common as eating deer, I would imagine. Or maybe it's not a thing at all.
I don't know. All I know is kangaroos are mean. Katie's going to fact check that.
I'm going to Google it. Can you eat it, or do people eat kangaroo?
Can you? Yes.
Can you? Should you? Do people? Whatever.
Technically, yes.
Oh, dogs do.
Dogs eat kangaroo?
Kangaroo is actually used as a protein in some dog food.
Oh. Do you want to know my fun fact about Australia?
Yeah, sure.
It's about dingoes, which I only know because we affectionately call Kelly a dingo because she looks like one. That she's the same color as one, and sometimes she acts wild. Oh, go ahead.
Kangaroo meat is incredibly nutritious.
Oh, great.
It's high in protein, iron, and zinc. Has omega-3s, too, which is... I think it's more common in fish than, mammals.
Yeah.
It's also a very lean meat.
But is it common? Is it tasty?
I know that kangaroo meat was legalized for human consumption in South Australia in 1980.
Okay.
So all I know is that the brand of dog food that our dogs eat, they get the duck most often, but sometimes they have gotten the kangaroo.
Nice.
And kangaroo was also suggested by veterinarians that I worked for. Basically, it was like, if your dog has food allergies, go for a novel protein. So, like, my dogs have a limited ingredient, grain-free diet, but we always get a novel protein. So, like, duck or salmon or something is the main protein. And novel protein just means it's not chicken or beef. Because those are, if you're getting chicken or beef, it's the remnants and byproduct of factory farm animals that are pumped with hormones and antibiotics.
Yeah.
And they're also grain-fed. And anyway.
Mom, if you're listening, sorry, Penny's been having skin problems, and the vet thinks she might be allergic to something. So they're trying different foods. Everyone, Penny is my parents' 16-year-old dog. All of her fur is falling out. It's very confusing. So far, she likes salmon. She's a very picky eater.
Salmon is good for dogs.
Try kangaroo. That'd be really fun. It'd be a fun thing to talk about.
Signature. It's like signature with the Z.
Oh, great.
That's the brand that Jory and Olive eat.
Nice. To finish my dingo fact, adult dingoes only get to be about 35 pounds, which means Kelly weighs twice as much as a dingo.
Kelly is 2 dingoes.
Kelly is 2 dingoes. I tell you that all the time. And that is the rest of the funness for...
Yeah, sorry. I feel like we might need that interlude.
Sorry. Kangaroo carcasses. Well, okay. No, this is good because I feel like...
By this point, kangaroo has been legalized for 18 years.
Yeah.
So why are you wasting this meat?
Exactly. They should be really suspicious and be like, that's a lot of good meat.
There's like a brand new wide open market for kangaroo meat. Why is it just sitting in barrels?
Okay, so then Several months later, the friends called up John and they were like, hey, we're moving. We need you to come get these barrels. And also they're starting to smell. And as far as the friends know, they're like, you for sure let all of that kangaroo meat go to waste. And I'm sorry, I keep referring to it as kangaroo meat because we know it's not. But
no.
Okay.
They don't, though.
So this is when John and Robert go to Snowden and sign a lease for the property that happens to have an abandoned bank. And they move all of the barrels into the vault. And at this point, it is May of 1966. 1999.
How did you go back in time 30 years?
I read 6 barrels as I was reading the date. May of 1999. Which, if you remember from the beginning, if you can remember all the way back.
Is more or less where our story started.
Yes. But John is not done yet, as you know, because you have one extra
more
paper. Okay. David Johnson is 24. And is James's stepbrother. So at this point, we're now too deep into James's
James just has a problem with his stepbrothers.
I know.
Or half-brothers or brothers.
Do you want to guess the reason that John found for why they needed to kill him?
Obviously, David molested or sexually assaulted James. He may also be a homosexual. And David is probably transgender.
Nope, none of those reasons.
Damn it.
John hated him because he cared about his appearance.
David cared about his appearance?
David cared about his appearance.
The audacity.
I know. Yep. Angrily slammed the dossier. John, I guess, saw this as a sign of weakness. Or jealousy. I don't know what. John looks like a fucking bag of garbage.
John is now hidden under Fred. Because Fred has a sweet face.
I know he does. So, John tells James, hey, I need you to find a way to get David to the bank vault. Which, I mean, efficient to now bring him to the barrels.
Instead of driving him there later after you've, tortured him and he's probably bleeding all over the inside of your car.
Yeah.
I mean, what a mess to deal with.
Exactly. So, James cleverly comes up with, hey, it's 1999. Hey, there's a computer for sale for a great price. And it's in Snowden and at this bank. You have to come with me. So, David agrees. I don't know what a good price for a computer in 1999 would have been. That's probably about the time we got our first computer.
I gotta go check that receipt for the computer game that I found. Remember when I brought my big box of stuff from my dad?
I remember.
She is evilly glaring at Isabel.
Who's still staring off into the corner.
With that dead stare.
So, once they get David there, John, Robert, and James, I don't know where Mark is at this point, tied him up, beat him, tortured him, and recorded his voice the same way they had with Troy. They get his bank details and his ATM card, and then Robert and James go to withdraw money, but they got a not authorized message from the ATM, and which they assumed just meant that he didn't have any money, and I don't know. But when they returned, they found David was already dead. And John said, well, he got free and he threatened me with a knife, so I had to kill him. And before leaving him in the barrel with the rest of them, Robert cut a piece of flesh from his body, and he and John later cooked the flesh and ate it back in Adelaide because, quote, they hadn't had enough fun just killing him.
I hope they got a prion disease.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm hoping for them yet. I have to think on it because it's just, yeah. So on May 20th, police discovered the vault and the barrels and the bodies. does not take a lot to connect all of this because the vault is leased to John and Robert. Police have already been watching them for Lane's murder. So on May 21st, the very next day, John, Robert, and Mark are arrested. James is arrested on May 26th. The trial lasted almost a year. It was the longest in the history of South Australia. Mark was convicted in 2004 of 5 counts of assisting with murder and was sentenced to 25 years without parole for 18 years. James pled guilty in 2002 to 4 counts of murder and was sentenced to 26 years. And in 2003, Robert was convicted of 10 murders and John was convicted of 11 because the jury couldn't come to a decision about whether or not Susie and Alan died of natural causes or not. I think the medical examiner couldn't be sure. Mm-hmm. They couldn't rule out that she hadn't died of natural causes.
Right. It wasn't obviously a murder or something.
They were like, well, she was definitely dismembered, but
that's all post-mortem.
Yeah, whether or not she had a heart attack before that is unclear. Robert was given 10 consecutive life sentences, and John was given 11, both without the possibility of parole. And in 2011, a, quote, biographical crime drama based on the murders came out called Snowden, or Snowtown, whatever. Directed by Justin Kurzel. It's an Australian film. It received generally positive reviews, although from what I could tell, it did not make money. If I was reading the numbers correctly on how much it cost to make and how much it made. In the US, it made $8,400.
Oh,
which is, I feel like a single movie theater makes more than that.
I feel
like $8,000
makes that.
I feel like your Netflix subscription makes
one theater in a day.
I know. I will not be watching it. I read half of the plot synopsis on Wikipedia and had to stop because it started off with killing a dog, and I was like, nope.
I think I'm gonna watch the trailer and then that'll be it.
Okay. Yeah. It's it's just not.
I'm glad you know that thing is well insulated. That
I know,
because my
great.
ice melted a long time ago.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I picked the good one. It has my name on it, so I couldn't give you.
I bought that specifically for you.
I know, that's why I didn't give it to you. And to end this, I am just going to read the names of the victims one more time.
Yep.
Okay. So we have Clinton Trezise, Ray Davies, Suzanne Allen, Gardner Lane, Thomas Trevelyan, Gavin Porter, Troy Yude, Fred Brooks, Gary O'Dwyer, Elizabeth Hayden, and David Johnson.
I would have said Gardner and Lane's both their names.
Oh.
Michael or Michelle Gardner and I can't even remember Lane's
Barry
and
or Vanessa
Lane.
I don't know. I was just so worried about messing it up. Because I don't know. The way it was worded was, there was literally one that was like, and his girlfriend, Vanessa Lane, and then a whole nother source, like everywhere else he was listed, or they were listed as Barry Lane. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And then I was like so self-conscious about using someone's dead name, and I don't know. Anyways, that's...
Well, and like you said, they're not here to tell us which, and I mean, if it was if it was, I guess, significant enough to be in the research, both names we could just include both names, because we don't know which one they preferred.
Yeah.
Or how much was, was Michael Michelle on, the weekends and some nights for fun, or were they Michael and then not and then I guess they were always Michelle, but embraced being Michelle.
I think that was my fear, though, is if at any point they were Michelle and using Michael would have been something that was disrespectful, I wouldn't. I don't know. I just... Because I've heard from trans people that, like, you never say they're dead. You know, like, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. It was 30... Well, God, not 30 years.
And
it was
that's
20,
the thing is,
you know.
Are they 100% Michelle or Vanessa?
Yeah.
Or... You know,
is it
'cause I know
yeah.
that some people are like, well, you know, I was going to say John, but I don't want to associate the bad John in this story. I'll just use one of them. I'm Michael, but, you know, I have another persona that, you know, I like to play sometimes, or, you know, my drag name or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan Van Ness goes by, what is it? He, she, what is it? He, she, they, them. He goes by, like, all of them, I think.
Yeah.
And he's, like, gender fluid or something.
Yeah. I mean, some days, I guess, maybe he's feeling more masculine.
Yeah.
Other days, he's feeling more feminine.
Yeah.
I
think he just accepts all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Come back from the dead and tell me. What do you want me to use? I just want to be respectful of you guys.
We're not here to offend anyone.
I know. Except for fucking John Bunting and Robert Wagner. Fuck you guys.
No, Robert Wagner was a susceptible little tool.
John Bunting. I hope he's having the worst day of his life. I hope today was the worst day of your life, John Bunting. And I hope you have a terrible Thanksgiving.
Well, you know how pedophiles are the lowest of the low man on the totem pole, even in prisons? I hope he's down there with them.
Oh, yeah. Me too. I hope rats poop in your food every day.
Well, he is in prison, so it's a possibility.
Actually,
I don't know what the
I know.
Australian penitentiary system... It might be totally fine. They might actually treat their inmates as people... with the intention of
rehabilitate. Yeah.
Yep.
But, yeah. I don't know. Katie, can you just tell her on, like, our socials and stuff? Because I'm just going to polish this off while we...
Just take it straight.
I can't do that. I have heartburn.
So if you want to see all of these photos, there's so many of them, we're probably going to have to put them on 2 posts. You can go to our Instagram and Facebook at The Tales We Tell Podcast. She really is killing that bottle, folks. If you want to see these photos but you don't do the social media thing, you can check out our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com.
Sorry.
If you want to go ahead and finish, do your thing, and then I'll do my thing.
Okay. There we go. It's for later.
If you want to support us and get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, the holidays are just around the corner.
They make great presents.
You can go to redbubble.com, search The Tales We Tell, and if you want to support us without getting yourself some extra stuff, except for maybe some bonus content, early release, commercial-free listening,
and our undying loves,
every now and then some stickers and love notes too.
Or, like, if you message us, we'll just send them to you.
Yeah, no, really, it doesn't take much, but you can become a patron at patreon.com/The Tales We Tell.
Hell yeah!
Everyone go hug a puppy or a baby.
Or a loved one, or I don't know.
Just, text your gay friends, hey, we love you.
Just text your crush. Or, I don't know.
Text your therapist.
Text anyone. I hope everyone has if you celebrate Thanksgiving, have a great Thanksgiving. If you don't, just have a great Thursday, Wednesday, week. Yeah, and just, I don't know. I'm that annoying person that makes everyone say what they're thankful for. So, before we sign off, Katie, what are you thankful for? We have to end on a good note because I'm mad about everything.
Well, no, I mean, theoretically, Thanksgiving is tomorrow as people listen to this. So, I am thankful for my husband and my critter. And this podcast because I love it.
I do too.
What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family that's going to be in town. and for the second annual Parch Thanksgiving that I get to host. And the ability to do that. Yep. So I'm very blessed that and turkeys are like 14 cents a pound right now at Food Lion. So you have to buy like $35 worth of groceries. So.
Easily doable.
Easily doable because we gotta go get our Thanksgiving groceries. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.